Writing content in SEO is the worst nightmare for so many search engine optimization specialists, especially the new entrants. I mean, those who are just discovering the industry, those who are just coming into search engine industry are new, right? And this is actually not something to worry about. Everyone who gets into SEO the first time will obviously struggle the very first period to ideate, to come up with content, to do keyword research, and of course also to put these pieces of information together to form one giant piece of helpful content, while also struggling to make sense of the Google's consistent or constant algorithm updates. This is a whole lot for several search engine optimization specialists, once again, especially the new ones. So while no one can hold you by the hand and teach you how to write this piece of content, it becomes very important once in a while to give you ideas, to give you tips by which you can formulate this content, by which you can ideate, by which you can come up with these content ideas, and of course, by which you can begin to form these pieces of ideas together to form one giant piece of helpful content. In this particular video, I'm going to be doing just exactly this, right? I will walk you through the steps by which you can start and write content from the beginning to the end. I hope I'm able to make this a bit simpler for you because there are several materials on the internet that, hell no, are so confusing. And of course, for a newbie, most likely you, right? It becomes also very confusing when you hear about the fact that AI can write content for you, and some other persons are also of the opinion that AI cannot write a content that ranks. Where exactly do you stay in all of this, right? So let's get to see what we are able to do today, right? Let's see if I'm able to help you a bit. I hope I'm able to help you a bit, right? Because I tried doing the same thing sometimes back on one of my live sessions and I didn't do well, right? I really did not do well. I tried helping my listeners, I tried helping my visitors learn how to write content in 1 hour, but yeah, I should think it was boring. So let's see if this works out today. Let me make you a step on how you can start and write content in, let's say, 1 hour max. So, welcome to this particular section of the video. I hope I'm able to help you learn just about how to start and how to finish a complete content as quickly as possible. I'm saying 1 hour, right? But let's see how you're able to complete this as quickly as possible and replicate that same idea or speed for several other content that you will definitely write going into the future as an SEO specialist. Once again, writing content is what you will do in the whole of your SEO lifetime. In your lifetime as an SEO specialist, you will write different types of content. You will write plenty tofu content, right? You will write plenty mofu content, and obviously you will write plenty bofu content. So if you don't understand what writing content is, if you don't understand how important writing content is, if you don't also know how to write this content, you may not go far in SEO, right? Because content writing, being a good part of on-page SEO, is one of the most important things that you will ever do in SEO, right? You write plenty content once again. You will optimize different types of pages, right? Including adding content to them, making those content make sense to your ideal audiences and kind of convince them to buy what product or service you are offering, right? So let's get to the board immediately. Let me help you understand the structure that we will be following to write our content for this particular video cast. So I'm employing the PIOC, right? PIOC framework, and we will be looking into a topic. This is a topic under consideration, right? We'll be looking into how to sell cars online in Nigeria. So I'm not going to be walking you through how to do keyword research. Obviously, I've covered plenty of that in some of my previous videos. You can find one of them at the top of this one here, and you can find the rest also listed in the description section of this particular video. So I've done my keyword research obviously, and I'm settling for how to sell cars online in Nigeria. And the formula or the structure, the content structure that I want to employ is what I call the PIOC, right? This is P, this is I, this is O, this is S, this is double E right here. So PIOC. Once again, what is PIOC? So you may be wondering, what exactly is PIOC? I've always said this. PIOC is not originally a structure or an idea for SEO, right? I actually got this idea because of my researches or my love for the aviation industry. If I could turn back the hands of time, right, I most likely would be a pilot by now. I've always loved the aviation. I've always loved flying. I've always loved heights, right? I've always loved the taking off and the landing of airplanes. So this passion has actually led me into watching plenty flight videos on different flight channels. And one of the things I've been able to learn over the years watching some of these videos is PIOC, right? So PIOC is an aviation term that is used by pilots in mid-air to discover a problem, troubleshoot the problem, find a very quick and rapid solution to a discovered problem. Makes sense, right? Yeah, so I began to think to myself, can't PIOC also be used for the sake of content writing? Since we know that one of the formulas by which content anyone can write content is the pass, right? The PAS, the pass, right? The past formula, which is the problem, the P standing for problem, the A standing for agitation, and S standing for solution. So the past formula is actually one particular framework or style by which anyone can write content as well. So first of all, you talk about the problem, you agitate the problem, and you give a solution, right? So yeah, since this was the case, then PIOC also would make sense, right, for content writing. So I looked into PIOC and I studied PIOC, right, because this is what pilots once again use in mid-air to find or to discover a problem, to discover the problem for what the problem really is, to troubleshoot the problem, and to find quick answers to the problem, because there is no garage in the air. At any point in time, any damn thing can happen. So these pilots, as intelligent as they are, they find quick solution to very many problems they have in mid-air. Sometimes employing PIOC, right? PIOC as a means of solving this particular issue. So now, what exactly is PIOC? Let's move to the next slide quickly. So the very first P right here is the problem, right? So PIOC, problem. So over here, once again, we are looking at how to sell cars online in Nigeria. Please note this. This is our focus keyword. Yeah, our focus keyword. And we are employing PIOC. Before we start writing this content, I will tell you one or two things that you need to do before employing PIOC to this, right? So the very first P right here is problem. In this particular section, you will simply look at, you make a list of all the problems. You should be able to think. Think as quickly as possible. If I was the one also searching for this particular item on Google, making a search for how to sell my car online in Nigeria, what are some of the problems I might have encountered before I even went on Google in the first place to search? These are the problems that 99% of other persons looking forward to selling their cars also in that same locality may be facing. So yeah, think as an SEO person, what are some of the problems that people encounter in the course of wanting to solve this particular uh, problem? So here are some of the problems. Obviously, absence of organized platforms, right? The cost of selling cars in Nigeria. Trust issues may be a problem. Lack of technical know-how. Yeah, maybe these guys don't have the technical skills required to market their cars or to sell their cars online. And the truth is this: There is no single organized platform in Nigeria where people can actually sell their cars. So that becomes a problem for a guy who wants to sell one car or sell two cars without necessarily being a vendor, a car vendor, him or herself, right? So these are the problems, and these problems have been discovered. So now let's move to the next one, which is the I. The I is information. For every of this problem, there must be an additional information that you can dig into to better understand the problem, right? So when a pilot discovers a problem in midair, they quickly begin to find additional information about this particular problem. What has the expert said about this particular problem? They begin to look into their logs, right? Into their manuals, right? Into their checklist to see or to find additional information to this particular problem. And in the case of this particular content, the additional information may simply be uh, a means by which you can elaborate on the problem. So each of the problems will need flesh. You need to add flesh to each of the problem, and you see how this is done on my screen quickly, right? So additional information, this is where you add flesh to each of the problems. And when you outline the problem in maybe one or two paragraphs, then you add flesh to each of the paragraphs, right? And of course, in adding flesh to the paragraph, you are simultaneously looking for opportunities by which you can refer to external resources, which is where external linking also begin to come into place, right? By adding flesh to the problem, which is more information, you are looking for external experts to quote as a means of backing up the fact that this is a problem, which is an opportunity for you to get external link or opportunity to link out to external resources, being one of the checklists for a good SEO practice, right? And of course, also in writing additional information about this problem, this is where the opportunity to do internal linking also comes into play, right? You had opportunity of looking for other resources on your website by which you can link to this particular content so that a reader goes through this particular one and click on the link to read other resources on your website. So problem and information gives you opportunities as an SEO specialist to link out to external or internal resources, right? As a means of buttressing on this problem and making it look like a real problem, so that the guy who is going through this particular content knows, oh, this is a problem, and this guy had explained, and this guy has explained this problem even by quoting external expert or resources within his own content. So additional information, how to make the problem feel real. So how to elaborate on the problem rather. So this is external or internal resources to back up your facts. Yeah, so that is about information. And the next one is the option, right? So the options in mid-air, when a problem is discovered and additional information is dug up about the problem, then the pilots begin to look for options. What are the available options to solving this particular problem, right? Maybe one of the options may be to land in the nearest airport, right? So they begin to scout for available airports around. Maybe one of the options may be to dump some jet fuel, right? Maybe one of the options may be to descend to 15,000 feet, right? Or to ascend to 25,000 feet. Maybe another option may be to engage the autopilot and several other options. So there are several options that pilot can actually come up with for a particular problem. These are simply options, right? They have not settled for one of the options, right? So in the case of this content also, you want to make a list of options. So a guy went on Google to search how to sell cars online in Nigeria. This is the section where you simply make the guy a list of available options by which he can sell his cars, right? So a simple Google search for how to sell your car online in Nigeria simply suggests to us that is a listicle, and you will see that shortly on my screen, right? It's a listicle. So someone who is searching for that online obviously is looking for maybe 9 ways by which I can sell my cars online, these ways of selling my cars online. So it's a listicle. And this is where the listicle comes into play. Option, right? You're simply going to be making this guy a list of options by which he or she can sell his cars. And moving on from here, we have select. Now, when these pilots have gone through the options, either landing in the nearest air base or airfield, right, dumping some fuel, or descending to 15,000 feet, or maybe engaging the autopilot, and maybe giving the command over to the co-pilot, and they have outlined options by which this problem can potentially be solved. They go ahead to select. Which of these selected options is most feasible? Which of these options is most practicable immediately? I mean, something that wouldn't take us forever to execute or to initiate. That is what they do by simply selecting. And of course, you have made this guy some options by which he can sell his cars. And maybe one of the options is to own a website, right? So in the selection process, you are simply going to be telling the guy that, okay, having a website is good, but it may take a while before website is done. So in this regard, I'm going to be making you a list of, right, a list of 3 free platforms by which you can sell your cars in Nigeria. This is already helping the guy to select. Oh wow, I can actually list my cars on this particular website, on Gigi, on Jumia, and all of that without spending so much. That is helping the guy to select. Alternatively, also or additionally, you can help the guy make a list of 4 platforms, 4 premium platforms where they can sell their cars also. That is simply helping the guy select, right? Helping them to make a choice on platforms where they can sell their cars, and maybe also make helping them to list other things by which they can sell their cars as a means of helping them select or niche down to one specific thing by which they can sell their cars fast in Nigeria online. This is simply what you are doing with PIOC. Looking at the problem, digging into the information, digging into more information about the problem, right? And creating linking opportunities for yourself, right? Giving out options, which most likely is the core or the key section of the content, and helping to select. Just think intelligently. How do I help someone select in this particular kind of content that I am writing? And the next one, obviously, is the execute. So when pilot selects a particular, so when pilot goes through the options and they think, oh, this and this can be applied immediately, right? They select that immediately and they settle for that. And as soon as they do that, they execute these 2 options immediately without wasting time. When the pilot and the co-pilot and maybe the flight engineer looks into the option, okay, let's say option 1 to 10, and say, okay, out of this 10, let's select 3 out of this. These 3 are the most feasible for now. When these 3 are selected, they go ahead immediately to execute without wasting time, because there are about 300 persons seated behind them at the cabin, right? Whose lives must be preserved, right? So yeah, execution. These guys go ahead and execute. In this case, you can simply make a list of actionable steps by which these guys can begin to list their properties on these platforms you selected before. So you made the guy a list of 3 platforms to sell their cars for free in Nigeria. How do you teach the guy the setup process? You are the guy who is suggesting this platform to me. So you must also teach me how to list my properties on this, how to list my cars on these platforms, which is where the execution comes into play, right? So make the guy a list of how he or she can put all of these things I've taught, all of these things I've said or I've written so far into action, right? How do I go about doing this so that it becomes really simple and easy for me to sell my cars online in Nigeria? That is what execution means. And last but not least, we have the evaluation. When these pilots select and they execute, they immediately begin to look out for signs that this executed options are working. That is how they are able to check if these selected and executed options are actually working, right? So you have executed three items. You must begin to check if the controls are now back to live, right? Let's say, for instance, in the case of a failed engine, maybe one of the engines got burnt and it was causing shake in the sticks, right? When they select these options and execute, they immediately begin to look out for signs that there is stability. There's a bit of stability in the sticks, right? In the sticks, and maybe the sticks are no longer as shaky as it was before. So in your own case, also having helped this guy to execute by giving actionable steps and tips, right? You want to help them evaluate, and this evaluation section is usually the final thoughts, right? The final thoughts in your content. So at the bottom part of your content, you want to conclude, right? You want to conclude, you want to give your final thought. Final thought in the sense that you want to summarize the whole content in one paragraph or in two paragraphs, right? And of course, also in this evaluation section, you want to give them tips on how to measure their success on any of the platforms that you have listed them, right? So I've listed you three platforms by which you can sell your cars quickly in Nigeria. How do you measure? How do you check if these platforms are worth it at the end of the day? How do you check if you are actually going to be making sales on this platform? There are several other things that you can put together as a means of concluding this content as a final thought, or helping these guys check if these platforms, or if these ideas you have made them, you have listed already, is going to work for them, right? So now let's hop to my screen and let me put some of these things I've said already into practice, right? And we will be using ChatGPT also at some point to help us speed up the writing process also, right? I hope this makes sense to you. Yeah, so welcome to my screen, right? How to sell cars online in Nigeria, my personal experience. So I'm going to be starting first of all by checking the search engine result page. So let me copy my focus keyword right here and head over to the search engine result page. So let's get to see what others are doing in this regard. So the AI result says create a website, template, creating a homepage, setting up inventory, and other things here. So yeah, this is not a good idea if you ask me. This is not a good thing. It's not a good result. So yeah, Gigi right here says sell your item. This is sponsored. This is sponsored. Sell your car online in Nigeria. So yeah, buycars.ng here, right? Buycars.ng. If you open this site, this is also not looking good. Their content is not even optimized at all. It simply tells me that if I do this, I most likely will beat these guys, right? So yeah, this one says sell your cars in Nigeria. Yeah, they are the ones ranking for this also. Auto check. Yeah, this is what they have here. Yo, this is a page, not even a content, a blog content. Yeah, so if you scroll down here, you see some items I will still show you. So 5 car marketplaces in Nigeria to look out for in 2024. Yeah, this is not in line with the content, right? I'm looking for how to sell my cars. This is showing me car marketplaces. So cars in Nigeria for sale, best price. This is also not in line with this. How to sell cars online in Nigeria. Yeah, this one says 20 top 20 car selling websites in Nigeria. So this is also not in line with that. I'm looking for how to sell my cars, right? Now this guy says car dealers, 9 ways to sell more cars online. Yeah, I think only this guy checks the box, right? Only this guy checks the box. Auto check Africa. Yeah, I should think auto check also is here. Yeah, this is auto check Africa. They are ranking twice on the search engine result page, and this alone checks the score, checks the box. So if I open this up, let me see what kind of content these guys have here. Yeah, so listicle, 9 content, nine items mentioned here. So the ninth one is sell more cars online, upload high quality photos, right? Okay. Yeah, and that is pretty much it. Final thoughts, which is where we have the evaluation, right? Yeah, you understand. So this is what these guys have here. Only this and nothing else. Right. So how to sell cars online in Nigeria. This is a listicle and we will treat it as such. Right. So now let's get back to our content writing process. So yeah, how to sell cars online in Nigeria, my personal experience. I simply want to come off as an expert, as someone with an experience wanting or trying to sell his cars before now online in Nigeria, which is what I'm currently doing, right? So yeah, just work with me and let's look at this together. So I'll employ ChatGPT quickly to find me some quick tips, right? Yeah, so just watch closely. So yeah, I'm trying to write a content for my blog, how to sell cars online in Nigeria. First, I want to write about the problems in the first three paragraphs and then transition the readers into the body of the content. Please get this done for me. Yeah, so this guy has given me three paragraphs right here. It says selling cars online in Nigeria can be a daunting experience for many individuals and businesses. One of the biggest challenges is dealing with trust issues. Buyers are often skeptical about the authenticity of online car listings, fearing they might fall victim to scams or fraudulent transactions. This lack of trust has created gap in the online car sales market, leaving sellers struggling uh, to connect with serious buyers. Yeah, so this is making sense to me, but I wouldn't copy and paste this obviously. I will simply write this in my own word. So the very first one I have here is trust issue, right? Yeah, so let's copy this quickly and refine quickly. So here, paste this here. So let's get started. I'm going to write this like my personal experience, right? Yeah. I have recently completed an online campaign for a car vendor, and the experience I had working with him about car sales in Nigeria and how car sellers struggle to find buyers. Okay, and how car sellers struggle to find buyers will stick with me for the long time, right? For a long time, okay, yeah, for a long time as I journey along in this industry, right? Yeah. So one of the problems car sellers face, yeah, let me use the word face, from this experience is trust issues. This is because buyers are often skeptical about the authenticity of online car listings in Nigeria. There is always the fear of falling victim to scammers or fake alerts, right? Yeah, fake alert is actually a popular slogan in Nigeria, right? So you have to understand the industry jargons and some of the things that can be used in the industry to help people understand what your content is all about. This lack of trust undoubtedly has created a wide gap in the online car sales market, leaving sellers of one or two cars struggling to find serious buyers. Yeah, so this is the first problem statement that I have written here. So now let's move on to the next one. Let's see what ChatGPT gives to us. So it says another significant hurdle is the intense competition in the online space. Yeah, so let me copy this also, paste it right here and start rewriting it. Yeah, with numerous platforms and countless listings, it is easy for your car to get lost in the crowd. Sellers frequently find themselves competing not just for one price, not just on price, but also on the quality of their listings and their ability to stand out. Without the right strategies, it becomes difficult to attract the attention of potential buyers. Right. So yeah, this can be rewritten. Yeah. So that is another problem I've outlined here. Right. Yeah. So we'll simply look at this once again and be very sure the grammar is correct. So yeah, I've done two paragraphs. So let's hop to the transition process, right? So yeah, while these challenges may seem overwhelming, the good news is okay. Yeah, so let's get into the transition session, right? So yeah, before that, this guy says uh technical know-how. Okay, so I may not look into this because it may eat into our time, right? So let me simply transition. So these guys have seen the problem and they want to transition. Help them transition to the body of the content. Yeah, so in this blog post, I will make a list of 10 ways how to sell cars online in Nigeria. Sounds sounds like what you would like to consume. Then let's get to it. So yeah, this is transitioning. Transitioning the reader from this portion here, and then to these two sections. That's transitioning. Now, you have outlined the problem and you have dug into the problem also, giving a bit of information into each of the problems, right? So yeah, you can actually look for an avenue by which you can link out to other external resources. For instance, apart from this, the competition of the competition in the car sales market in Nigeria is getting fiercer by the day, right? As probably shown as shown in a recent survey by so you can now begin to look for means by which you can get a survey to back this up, right? So let's say survey of car sales in Nigeria, right? So yeah, Nigeria motor vehicle sales. Let's see this. Nigeria car market facts and data, right? Yeah, Statista. So yeah, let's see this. So revenue in the passenger car market projected to reach this in 2024. Revenue is expected to show an annual growth rate this resulting in the projected market volume of this by 2029. This is Statista already. So let's see. Okay. So these are not authority websites, right? This doesn't look to me like an authority website. This guy here, Statista, is simply the authority. So let's say as shown or as projected, right? So let's say as projected, rather, projected in a recent survey by Statista, right? So I'll simply link this up here. Yeah, so this Statista is already linked. It's already linked. So this has given me an avenue by which I can do an external linking or linkage to a to an authority platform, right? So yeah, moving on from here, we now have how to sell cars online in Nigeria in 10 steps. Remember, this is now going to be our options, right? We have done the problem. We have dug into the problem, giving information, additional information to the problem. Now we will move into the solution, right? So solution is how to sell cars online in Nigeria. Yeah, so how to sell cars online in Nigeria in 10 simple steps. So let's align this center. Let's make this a heading. Probably this is going to be heading 2, right? And let's make this bold. So now we have this already. You you want to go ahead and make your research. Obviously, make your research how to sell cars online in Nigeria in 10 steps, right? So write the 10 steps and ensure that you dig into the 10 steps. Make them very comprehensive and explicit, right? So let's say, for instance, step 1 is own a website, right? Let's make this heading 3. So heading 3 right here. So yeah, you can go ahead now and start writing. If I was the one, I will simply make this one step 1. Own a website. I will start by saying the importance of owning a business website cannot be overemphasized. And this is also very much applicable to car selling or listing websites, right? Yeah, so you are starting off like a conversation, right? Writing the content as if you are conversing with someone who needs to know that owning a website is very important for their business. So once again, go ahead and add flesh to each of these items, right? You can use ChatGPT also to get ideas, but simply don't copy and paste on ChatGPT. Refine them, right? So the importance of owning a business website cannot be overemphasized, and this is also very much applicable to car selling or listing website, right? Yeah. So this is how you build on each of the points, right? You keep building on each of the points. And my advice will be uh, you don't want to have just 2 or 3 paragraphs for each of the points. Simply add flesh to them. Write them conversationally as though you are conversing with a friend who needs more information about this, right? So yeah, let's make this one a spacer. So when you're done with the website, right, you can go ahead also and add images, pictures to this section so that it becomes easier for the person to relate with what you are saying. So maybe a screenshot or a stock photo of a website, a car listing website will do justice to this one. So now, having said all of this for car website, you can go ahead and uh, make a list of the types of website you should build, right? And of course, also explain in depth how expensive or how cheap it is to build website as well for a car listing brand, right? We are done with all of the listings. You can now go ahead and make a list of additional platforms where they can sell their cars for free or where they can list their cars for at a premium price. So if we check this how to sell cars online in Nigeria, if you scroll down here, you will see people also ask section where is the best place to sell cars online. These are platforms that the person is already asking, which is going to be coming into the select section of your content. Which website pays the most for used cars? Okay. How to start a car selling website. Yeah, so this person is simply looking for maybe a training on how to start a listing platform, right? Yeah, so and several other things. Just get idea from here that can come into your content as a subtitle or as a sub paragraph, as a sub header, right? So if you scroll down here, also to people also ask to the related searches, you will see some other stuff: how to sell cars online in Nigeria for cash, how to sell cars online Naira land. So the person is simply looking for how to sell their cars online on Naira land. And this one says Checking Nigeria, how to sell their cars on Checking Nigeria. Best website to sell car by owner. This is also another content that can come into your bigger content, by which you can make them a list of platforms where owners can sell their cars without having to interface with a third party, right? So yeah, go ahead and check out this page here and pick out like 3 or 4 items that make sense to you that can come into your content as a sub heading or as a title inside of your content. But meanwhile, following the Piosi framework, the next item to have after the option obviously is to select. And is in selecting, you want to make a list of platforms where they can sell their cars for free or platforms where they want to sell their cars at a premium price. And after that, when you are done helping them to select, you help them to evaluate, to execute. You help them to execute. You help them to execute. How do you go about doing this? Actionable steps. How do you now go about building your own website step by step? How do you go about listing your property on Jumia or on Gigi step by step? Actionable plans, right? And when you're done with that, you give your final thoughts on the content. I hope this makes sense to you. So thank you so much, guys, and let's get to meet up in my next content. I hope you have learned something from this content. Bye for now.